Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News. Now, if you're on the fence about buying tickets in advance for Man of Steel, time to get off the fence, as it was announced yesterday that on Fandango, Man of Steel is the top-selling movie ticket. Now, not surprisingly, it's outpacing sales for this coming weekend's openers, The Internship and The Purge. No big feat. But where it becomes impressive is that it's outpacing the summer blockbusters of 2013 so far. So what that means is it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to outgross them, but at this point it's selling more tickets than Iron Man 3 and Star Trek Into Darkness and Gatsby did 2 weeks out from their release date, or whatever days this is out from the 14th. So that's pretty exciting for Warner Brothers. And also another great thing for Warner Brothers is that this film, it was announced, Superman, Man of Steel, has already racked up $170 million worth of promotional revenue. That means, when you see action figures like Mattel or Sears or the National Guard, whenever they use Superman's likeness to sell something, they have to pay Warner Brothers for that likeness. So far, they've been paid $170 million to advertise with Superman. And the interesting thing is that this is actually better than Batman, The Dark Knight, because The Dark Knight only had about 150, and that was in total, not so far. There's still time to go with Man of Steel. If it does well at the box office, more promotional partners, especially worldwide, could come in. And the reasoning, at least that's being floated out, is that perhaps because Superman's a lighter character, but may be more appropriate for all ages. He certainly has the Americana aspect. Although I have to say, I've been seeing these National Guard ads that include Superman, and I kind of feel that if someone should be a National Guard spokesman, it's Batman, because the National Guard aren't invincible, they aren't bulletproof, which I think points out just all the more how brave they are to go into difficult situations where they're putting their life at risk for people, and to me, that's Batman. Batman is the one with the gadgets, he's the one who's mortal and really puts himself on the line, even more so, because there's not even kryptonite in this Man of Steel. This guy, as Snyder said, his emotions are his kryptonite. So we'll see. But you know what? I know that I have huge reservations about Man of Steel, but come on, it's going to be fun to watch this at the box office. Either way, success or failure, I mean, this is going to be quite the ride. It has such implications for Warner Brothers as a company, for the DC Cinematic Universe. So I just think it's going to be interesting and fascinating to see how this performs at the box office. So, and right away, it's already interesting. So that's the first story of today. Second story, let's segue into more Nolan. A lot of you have been asking about this Interstellar deal that kind of was leaked yesterday, or 2 days ago this week, about the deal that was cut between Warner Brothers and Paramount so that Warner Brothers could get in on co-financing Christopher Nolan's next big project, Interstellar, the sci-fi film with Matthew McConaughey that's written by Jonathan Nolan that Steven Spielberg was supposed to direct at one point, and Spielberg dropped out, and so Nolan came in. And so some of you are wondering, well, how can this happen? Doesn't Christopher Nolan have a deal at Warner Brothers? And the thing is that his company, Syncope, they have a deal at Warner Brothers, so that's why most of Nolan's films are made there. However, these things are always a little sketchy, but remember, this project was set up at Paramount first, with Spielberg at the helm, as I just mentioned. With Jonathan Nolan, Jonathan Nolan was going to stand on his own, but Spielberg dropped out. And as we all know that for a long time, Spielberg had a great relationship with Paramount through DreamWorks. So that's why that was set up there. But then when Spielberg dropped out, thankfully, Jonathan Nolan was able to get his brother, just as good a replacement, I feel, in terms of at least cachet, Christopher Nolan, to step in and take over. Now, I think that's why, Warner Brothers, they've had some problems. They've lost the Harry Potter franchise. They're really struggling to find a new franchise. And that's why they're working so hard with DC. And also, you'll notice a trend at Warner Brothers where they really try and hold on to their directors. And I think it's admirable. They have, for instance, the Wachowskis that they really just will not give up on. They have, Ben Affleck. They're really trying to help build and shape and mold his career, and it's working quite well, as you see how the Oscars turned out last year. And of course, Christopher Nolan, kind of like the crown jewel in their case of directors. So I think that Warner Brothers just was really scared the crap out of them that a Christopher Nolan could have a big hit for another studio. So they were just desperate to get in on this. And so Paramount saw a very good opportunity, and Paramount is also in a bad situation. You have two studios in a tough situation. As I've talked about, Paramount has lost the Marvel films to Disney because Disney bought Marvel. And also they lost DreamWorks to Fox. So they are also, in their Star Trek franchise is performing okay. So they need Interstellar to be a hit, but at the same time, they're not going to be totally averse to Warner Brothers coming on board, because Warner Brothers can help offset the cost of a very expensive film. Even though it's a Nolan film with the Nolans, anytime you spend this kind of money, it's risky, especially because you don't know how Man of Steel is going to do. What's going to break the spell with Nolan? Maybe nothing will. Maybe this will be a fantastic hit, and Warner Brothers is right to get in on this. But anyway, so you have a lot of eggs up in the air. And so what happens is that Paramount sees an opportunity and says, okay, you can come in here, you can be part of this really prestige project, but what we want in exchange is we want the rights back to Friday the 13th and South Park. And that's why you haven't seen any more Friday the 13th movies, and that's why you never got a South Park sequel, because these two studios have a gray area as to who owns them. So Paramount saw an opportunity to grab two like B-level franchises. They aren't slam dunks, but they're at the same time cheap to make. And that's really smart. So, but the catch is that Warner Brothers says you have 5 years, Paramount, before this comes up to be for review as to who has the rights. So, expect us. The good news also coming out of this is you're not only getting another Christopher Nolan Inception level movie, because this is like a dream project for the Nolans, but you're getting a South Park movie most likely in the next 5 years. Well, you have to, because Paramount got nothing out of this, and also another Friday the 13th film. One last thing, also Warner Brothers also got a deal where Paramount has to come in and help co-finance one of their big blockbuster picks. It's going to be very expensive. So a lot of commingling over there. It's interesting. Last story of the day is kind of an update on something I reported earlier, was that Carey Mulligan has become the front runner for the Hillary Clinton movie. I guess, she also just signed with William Morris Agency. She just got a new agent, William Morris Endeavor, I guess now called. So that's a big deal in and of itself. And I guess they're flexing their muscles. They're showing her she made the right decision to come over to them, and they're lining her up for this Hillary Clinton film. I think it's a mistake. I still feel Scarlett Johansson would do a much better job. Maybe this is better for Hillary Clinton, but box office-wise, Carey Mulligan didn't get great reviews off of The Great Gatsby. I thought she did a perfectly serviceable job in the role, but I didn't think she was amazing. So I think that when you put her in the film, it just becomes another Michelle Williams is Marilyn Monroe, Nicole Kidman is Grace Kelly. It's just the same thing. And I think that it's getting a little bit, it just makes it repetitive. That, the latest Hollywood actress finds some woman in history to portray, and look at all the cool makeup and wigs she's wearing, and isn't that a good impression? And so I just feel that Scarlett Johansson would have been a transformative role for her career, and that would have made it a little more interesting. So, but that's me. We'll see. Carey Mulligan, of course, is an Oscar nominee for An Education, so that adds that cachet. So, I can see where it makes sense from the Hollywood standpoint, but I think from a media standpoint and an audience standpoint, it's a disappointing choice. Okay, viewer questions for today. Yesterday, I talked about the fact I surprised everyone by revealing that Michael Bay is a producer on The Purge. And kind of a little mini argument broke out in the comments about what a producer does. Some people felt they have creative input, and some people felt they just put the money together so that the director can go and have carte blanche to do whatever they want. That is definitely not true. Producers are very hands-on, and the more successful a producer, the better you know their name, the more hands-on they are. More hands-on they are. Sure, there are some producers who just get the money together. That's usually an executive producer. The executive producer credit is given to someone who helped make the project happen, but isn't intricately involved in the making of the film. Producers are extremely involved. So involved to the point that World War Z is coming up, and there was a really fascinating article in Vanity Fair about the behind-the-scenes drama on that film. Not since Cleopatra has a movie been such a dramatic mess. But Mark Forrester, the director, was kind of making the excuse that he said, look, I didn't know what was going on. Producers often keep things from the director so the director doesn't get nervous or worried about the film. So I think because a lot of the viewers here, a lot of you are filmmakers, you hope that the director is the most important person on a film. That is actually not the case. The producer is the most important person on a film. The producer is the person who can get the final cut, who can fire the director, who really can pick the talent. Of course, you want a respectful relationship where the producer and the director have a good repartee and they're able to put their two minds together to come up with the best package. And of course, there are certain things that the producer just can't do, and there's certain things the director just can't do. But in terms of who has the final say on a film, that's the producer. If there's an argument, the producer settles it, unless it's in the director's contract for final cut. That's why directors ask for final cut, because they know this can happen. And so That's why if you want further proof, that's why directors like Christopher Nolan and even Zack Snyder and Steven Spielberg become producers. That's why they produce their own films, because they want that final say. So producers are intricately involved. Was Michael Bay intricately involved in The Purge? I actually doubt it, because I think Michael Bay is involved in so many things that I think that Michael Bay probably was very intricately involved in setting it up. I think he made a lot of decisions. I think that's why it's such a high concept film. I think that's why you see that there. I think it has a little bit of a slicker look than other horror films, but I think that once it was all set up, he let it go. And that's one of the beauties of being someone who makes a lot of projects. You can set up a number of films, and you can pick and choose which ones you really pay laser attention focus to. Because remember, Michael Bay isn't just a producer, he's also mostly a director. So that's the other part of that. His main interest lies somewhere else. So the second question kind of also goes into this. It's like someone asked me what I think of the Harry Potter films. I was talking yesterday about what makes a good adaptation, whether or not it can stand on its own, and I used The Hunger Games as an example of not such a great adaptation, and the Gone with the Wind as a great adaptation because the film totally stands on its own. So someone said, well, what do you think of Harry Potter? Especially because David Heyman, the producer, just signed on to adapt Fables to the big screen, the comic book from Vertigo. I think that Harry Potter is somewhere in between The Hunger Games and Gone with the Wind. I really loved the world of Harry Potter. I thought that had fantastic world building, as I talked about yesterday, because it's translated into theme parks, because people want to continue to have that Harry Potter experience. I thought the casting was brilliant, and I thought overall the pacing was very good because it really did get you involved in the story, and you cared about what happened to Harry and Hermione and Ron. That said, though, clearly a lot was being left out, and it was hard also sometimes to remember what happened from movie to movie, because I think there wasn't a lot of emotional depth in the scenes. Now, I know that comment's going to annoy a lot of you, but I think that there's only emotional depth if you knew it was coming from the book. I think that the Harry Potter films very much were great world building and then hitting various checklist points along the way of the story. And I think that David Heyman did the best that he could with such rich source material. In a perfect world, he would have made like 20 Harry Potter movies. And I think that they would have all been able to stand on their own. But it's very difficult when you're adapting a series of such breadth and length and depth to get it the way it is. So do I feel Harry Potter captured the essence of the books? Totally. And I know a lot of people who haven't read the books and just absolutely love them. But I'm very story oriented. I really focus a lot on scripts here, as you'll see. And so I just felt I could feel there was a layer missing from Harry Potter. And I know a lot of people who read the books felt the same way, because it was a constant complaint. And to some degree, sometimes I would feel a little cheated that I didn't totally know what was going on, and I didn't totally understand why certain things were so important. So that's my feeling on the Harry Potter franchise. Although, really, at the end of the day, can you really find any fault with one of the most successful franchises of all time? It's a success. It's beloved. And David Heyman did a fantastic job. So that's today's morning movie news. Thanks for watching. If you have anything you'd like to see covered tomorrow, please leave it in the comments down below, as well as any questions you'd like answered. Thanks for watching. Bye.